How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Coaching the Kid. I'm Nick Hadge with NBA head coach Don Casey. How's it going, Coach? It's been a while.
Yes, good to be back in the groove.
Yeah, well, we came back at the perfect time. It's March. The tournament's about to get started up. SDSU and UNC play tonight. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, the problem that San Diego State has, if there's a problem, is scoring. 19 points in the second half of the game they lost out in Vegas. But I really think that one of the keys is the big guy comes back tonight, has been injured.
Yeah.
Shot blocker. And Carolina is good, but they're not that good that State should be intimidated or in awe. Many think that they snuck in to this point, North Carolina. I see where they're now 4.5 point favorite. But that, if San Diego State can score, their defense will be what it is, and that'll always be there. The question is, they got to put points on the board to offset Carolina, who's quick. But I think their defense can impede North Carolina, but they got to score. If they don't score in clusters, they're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching their run to the national championship a couple years ago, and I feel like that it's a similar thing back then. It was mostly their offense that kind of held them back. I feel like they were more of a defensive team then, and I feel like they're more of a defensive team now. What is that? Is that allude to the personnel, or is that kind of?
No, that's their philosophy. I mean, they really are defensive. Is in their DNA. Play very good half court defense. They're doing a little pressing, which I would suggest against Carolina, just to get them a little bit distorted. But if your offense is off, which it can be at times, their defense has been consistent. And that, to me, also gives them an edge. Carolina is good, but there's many people who believe that they got here through political channels, not, on the court ability. And the athletic director, who was the chairman of the seating committee, is coming under tremendous pressure and second guessing. I know Indiana is disappointed. West Virginia, that coulda, woulda, shoulda. So I think that Carolina may have a lot to prove themselves, trying to save their AD. And San Diego State is going to prove that they belong here.
Yeah. Well, as a defensive-minded team like SDSU is, how do you keep your offense consistent when it, how do you prevent scoring only 19 points in a half if that's not necessarily your identity?
Well, they're what they call a continuity team. They kind of play around, not a lot of sets. I think they need more sets, so they make sure the right guys get it and get the shot. But they're a little bit freelancing. The left-handed kid, was it Bird and Boyd?
Yeah, Miles Bird, yep.
But I think or believe that the big fella is a game changer.
Yeah.
If they don't have him, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
If they have him, it could make Carolina have difficulty.
Yeah, they were talking about Gwath. As you talked about him, he can block shots, but he also spaces the floor very well. Some people think that he could be an NBA prospect one day because of that skill set. So,
there's talk. It's supposed to be a deep draft this year. I don't know where he sits. I don't talk to anybody yet. But for a big guy, I would wait another year
Mm-hmm.
for filling out, get their injury, because that injury still be somewhat under suspect.
Yeah.
But they all like to step out like the kid in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went to practice one. He's out there shooting threes. That would put Chuck Daly and Red Auerbach crazy for that. But the game's different today.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about UNC a little bit and the controversy with them. Their record against tournament-level teams is about 1-12 or so.
Yes.
They only won one game against tournament-level teams, and West Virginia was very upset about that because they did very well against tournament-level teams and did not get into the tournament. You talked about how the AD at UNC is on the tournament committee and how that
could have, chairman.
Yeah, how that could have potentially played a part in why they were in the tournament. What is your take on that? And
well, the ACC was not what it was. It's still a very good league. I mean, if you want to talk about leagues, the SEC has 16 teams, and 14 of them are in the tournament.
Mm.
So, tradition-wise, the Dukes, the Carolinas, the Marylands, I'm told Clemson has a nice team. But I think that there's a lot of second-guessing going on of the indirect influence just by being there, the AD. Even though he said he left the office, I mean, his spirit was probably still inside, guiding. So I think there is reason to have this controversy.
Yeah.
Around North Carolina.
Does stuff like that happen often?
Didn't seem to be. I don't recall anything this controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And I said Indiana feels that they got not a fair look. West Virginia, though, their record was not that strong.
Yeah.
But they're citing the quad 1, quad 2 metrics, which I have little knowledge of. But see, you solve all these problems like UCSD, you just win outright and get in. And Carolina hasn't done that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that tonight's game is a political game as well as a game.
Yeah. Now,
what do you think?
I think it is really interesting looking at it at face level. It definitely looks like something could have gone on there. But like you said, the UNCs of the world kind of might be able to find their way in the tournament. But at the end of the day, between UNC and West Virginia and just every year, teams are going to feel like they should have made the tournament. That's always going to happen. But at the end of the day, maybe if you played better during your season and proved yourself more, then you would have earned your spot easier.
So are you suggesting if the athletic director was not on the committee that they may not be in?
Yeah, I think it's very possible that if he wasn't on there that they wouldn't have got in, but I don't know if he's also the sole reason why they got in either. It's hard to tell.
Yes, if we could find another reason. Well, it's going to be a very interesting year. Like Bryant, outside of Rhode Island, is Coach Martelli, infamous coach from St. Joe's all those years in Michigan. His son is the coach there. That's in Omaha, another one. But I think that UCSD is under the radar.
Mm.
And they've done an excellent coaching, teaching job, haven't avoided any scheduling. So, no, I like UCSD.
Yeah. For UCSD, like we were talking about, they They just got into the Division I a couple years ago, so
Yes.
you have a bit of a waiting period before you're eligible for the tournament. But both the men's team and the women's team made the tournament this year, their first year eligible. I believe that's the first time that's ever happened for a program in your first year of eligibility.
Oh, I would. They won the championship, just like the San Diego State women's won the championship. Yes,
I think so.
That's another. So you got 4 teams, but they're from 2 schools.
Yeah. How for a program like UCSD to have such a rise in Division I, how do you do that as a coach? How do you build a program like that?
And it's not the easiest school, to get into. I mean, I'm not knocking other places, but the coach there, who I do not know, I know of, has certainly created a culture of basketball excellence, and it's done well. He should be up for a lot of jobs. And wherever the players, I didn't see the roster, but they've really patiently, persistently have put themselves in a very good position, which now I think they can attract more scholar athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, is how, they've been good recently and they've been on the rise, but it's one thing to kind of have some years of some great years, but then to carry that into the future and until where you have a great program, just like you talked about though, with their recent rise, they could definitely attract a lot more athletes to their school.
Well, they were very high at Division II?
Yeah, they were Division II just recently.
Yes.
Until they moved up. Yeah.
No, it's the puzzle school that you don't hear about is USD.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've faded into the sunset.
Yeah, and that's where Wayne McKinney, he's a guard on SDSU. That's where he went previously, was that's USD.
Right. Yeah, you're sharp. Okay.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
So what else do you think?
In the tournament?
Well, who do you like? Do you like Florida? Do you like Alabama? Do you like Duke?
Well,
you like Duke with flag?
I like Duke. I mean, that's obviously what a lot of people's picks are, but they've been unstoppable this year with the projected number 1 pick in the draft. It'll be hard to beat them, but just like every March, the unbeatable teams seem to get beat every year. So,
well, many think they can win it.
Yeah, but I think they definitely have a chance. Of course, you have to give them that chance. We were talking about this earlier as well, with the SDSU scheduling error.
My wife brought that up to me. She follows it more than I do. In the paper today, by Mark Sigler, there was massive confusion. One was they thought they were playing tomorrow, and all of a sudden, they're told to be ready for a 9 a.m. flight yesterday, which messed up their whole schedule. They didn't get the practice that they wanted, and now they're back there, and they've got maybe 1 practice, which I don't think is that terribly bad, but they wanted to get together to, do more in-depth with Carolina. So this play-in thing between the AD, scheduling, traveling, more controversy than you normally see.
Yeah. If you're Coach Dutcher, how do you approach that, getting, 1 less practice in your week?
It's no big. If you make it a big deal, it's a big deal. I mean, it happens all the time in the NBA.
Yeah.
I play through the night, get up the next morning and play. It's nice to be familiar, but they'll be fine. I mean, their coaches cover on the defensive end many situations, but it depends who's exploiting them. He's not moaning. He's just citing how confusing it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see how confusing that is. At this stage of your season, what does a practice look like preparing for a tournament team?
Very light.
Mm.
More skill. They've charted, their favorite situation. Is it a pick and roll here, pick and roll there? But they're going to be exactly as they are for the year, with maybe a little bit emphasis on who they think is a key player or the key two players, but nothing drastic.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about mentally? How do you mentally lock yourself into being in the tournament and making sure everything's on point?
Well, it's like going to the NBA playoffs. It's set. You're internally, you're excited, anxious, and a little bit concerned because it's a one and done.
Yeah.
You're not going to come back. But every team will be ready to play. It's the teams that bring their A game throughout the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
You can't slip.
Yeah, a lot of times they say it's not the best team who wins; it's the team that's playing best.
Well, at that time, usually, most times it weeds itself out, except that one year when George Mason, slipped in unnoticed. But that's not going to happen too much anymore. No.
Yeah, and you also compared the tournament to the NBA playoffs a little bit. What is it like coaching the college game versus coaching the NBA game?
Well, there's so many different rules. There's a 24-second clock, wider lane, 16 feet, timeouts, 6 of them, quarters, not halves. Pressure game, every game. Because you're playing against really pretty good teams most of the time. And there's not downtime. Like San Diego State could play on a Thursday and maybe not play till Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be good or bad. Thinking about the loss or the win, where the NBA, that's gone.
Yeah.
You get another one tomorrow. So you just keep pushing on. And that's the good teams do that. Oklahoma's doing it. Cleveland is doing very well. Pistons have done excellent this year.
Yeah.
Celtics are right there. No, it's demanding.
Yeah. Now, this is a little controversial, but what is your preference to watch? Would you rather watch the NBA or would you rather watch college basketball?
Women's game.
Really?
Tell
me about that.
It's a very interesting. They run more stuff.
Mm.
They don't just shoot threes. I think a team the other night had 56 threes.
Really?
Yeah.
56 made threes?
No.
Oh,
Attempts.
they took. Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, look what was it, Boise State? They had 22 threes the first half.
In the first half?
They made 5 or 6 of them.
Mm.
They shut it every time down.
Yeah.
And they shut themselves out, really. The finals. But see, who would you throw the ball into? There's no Ewing, Mourning, Bird, Walton. You go to extreme. Duncan, Robinson, Mutombo. There's no big centers that would say you want him to touch the ball at least 5 times a quarter. I don't see him. But the big kid from Purdue last year is doing well there. Now, I think, does Michigan have 2 7-footers? I think so.
I'm not sure.
I think so.
And do they run, from what you know, do they run them at the same time?
I don't know. I heard the commentary talking about it. I didn't know that many big players are still around.
Yeah.
They're like dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's definitely going extinct. From my perspective, I prefer watching the NBA. Now, I know some people think maybe I guess college basketball can be seen as more pure, with running more sets, more ball movement, less isolation basketball.
Well, the isolation is down. But don't forget, the NBA has a 3-second illegal defense rule.
Yeah.
Where you can't put defense in there. But the game, many people feel overall has become homogenized. It's like the 3-point shot, then a layup.
Yeah.
Pick and roll here and pick and roll there. Though I'm told, I only saw him once, I wasn't paying attention, that Cleveland is really running a compact offense built with many concepts besides the pick and roll, which has made them a very powerful team. I have not seen them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talked about kind of the NBA style, 3-pointer, a layup, or running a lot of pick and rolls to get mismatches and then running isolation. Do you think, in a sense, like basketball is kind of capped out in the NBA, where this is kind of like how the game is and there's no other way to play it as efficiently?
Well, yeah, the NBA, the coaches are going to coach with the players they have. And the players coming into the league are more perimeter minded.
Yeah.
Like maybe 4 perimeter players, and if there's a big, the game has become somewhat homogenized, but Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City runs good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like the Lakers' record's not bad. It's like 43-25.
Yeah, they're doing well.
No, I mean he's the J.J. Redick, who was a little bit under suspicion, has held that team together and doing well. And even Bronny James' kid played the other night.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit more time now. Yeah, what with the Lakers, they were doing very well until LeBron got hurt, so he's been out for a little bit, and it's been kind of rough on them. But just in general in the NBA, who do you think's gonna win it? Who's your picks?
I think it will be between Cleveland and Oklahoma City.
Really? I mean, both of them are on pace for incredible records, so it's hard to pick against them.
Backing them up in the East, New York is starting to play really. If they can score, if Brunson can keep it up, they're tough. In the West, Denver, I don't know.
Yeah. You always have to give Jokic a chance.
Yes.
He's playing incredible.
Look at, I mean, the Lakers have done, I think, a pretty good job, and I don't think their roster's that strong.
Yeah, it's not.
I think the kid Redick has done a nice job.
Yeah, he's done a nice job, and in any series, it's going to be hard to beat Luka and LeBron if you have them both on a team.
And they played well together.
Mm-hmm.
But you always need 3 scores.
But
Reeves
he's been a really good third scorer for them.
And Denver's got 3. Now, one player that really played well was from here, Powell.
Sorry, who is it?
The Clippers.
Oh, Norman Powell?
He played when he was down.
Yeah.
He played very well and got a ton of points.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got, Kwani's back and he doesn't get the length of the minutes than he once had. But he rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
So in a 7-game series, it's not like now. If you're the Lakers, you're playing, say, the Clippers tomorrow, Denver 2 days next, Sacramento. You get in the playoffs, both teams are trying to groove in to one another, both offensively and defensively. So that's will be the key. But again, L.A. loves stars, and I think they got 3 with Reeves moving up.
Yeah. Fully healthy, it's going to be really hard to beat them, along with the Warriors now, too, who are on a big streak. They had a pretty bad loss the other night against the Nuggets, but just overall, ever since the Jimmy Butler trade, they've been really good, and it'll be hard to beat them and Steph Curry in a 7-game series, too.
I agree. They could score. And not too bad defensively. They're not terrific, but they're not bad.
Yeah. Now, going on the other side of the spectrum, to the worst teams in the NBA, there's kind of the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. What do you think is going on in the mind of Cooper Flag, whether he goes and declares for the draft or if he stays in college?
Well, whatever the lottery drawing is, the way they're made up, I certainly would not want to go to Washington.
Why is that?
I mean, they've gutted their roster. The GM is, and the owner, tolerating the losses, to get back in the mix. No, I could, do you think Flag would possibly stay in the year?
It's hard to tell because...
Does the money have to be right?
I think, there's kind of 2 things he's probably thinking about. Is one is the money, and now with the NIL, making money in college it's way bigger. I mean, it wasn't even a thing recently, and now players can make money through their name. So I think that has a huge part in it. He's already getting a lot of media coverage at Duke, but another thing he's probably thinking about is at Duke, he's on a great program. Whereas if he goes into the NBA, he's going to go to a team who's most likely hasn't been good in a long time, with a shaky front office, shaky coaching staff, where there's a lot of uncertainty there. Even though he might have a guaranteed salary, that might not be worth it if he's on
the guaranteed salary today. Yeah, okay. But back in the day when there was no NILs, that was big.
Yeah.
Now the NIL is big. I mean, he's making like $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Could he make 10 next year? Who knows? If he stayed at Duke.
Yeah.
But I think when they do the lottery drawing, that's going to be an influence. If Washington comes up first, I don't think he'll leave.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that though is the same teams who are bad right now, I mean, they've been bad for a while, and they could be bad next year too. And then if you thinking about the NBA again next year, it could be the same teams in the lottery.
Well, Washington's going to be bad for a while.
Yeah, so they could be here for a while doing a standoff with him if that happens.
The Pelicans are still struggling.
Charlotte.
Charlotte's been screwed up for years. I don't know where I would want to go if I had my choice. Team-wise and city-wise.
Well, you don't have many great options. You have Utah, Washington, Charlotte, New Orleans, potentially Philly, Brooklyn, Toronto.
Philly's bad. So what do you do if you're up in Toronto and you're Canadian? You gonna invite Trump to the games?
I don't know. No, that's up to Cooper. Toronto. I mean, if he potentially got drafted there, it's been hard for them to keep a superstar. I mean, Kawhi only lasted a season with them.
And then Paul George got hurt again, right?
Yeah, he's out for the season now.
Phillies in shaky grounds as a franchise. They're not. They are getting bad press.
Yeah,
you don't want to get bad press in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing the Eagles won.
No,
yeah, but no, I don't like what they're doing or trying to do. Of course, Maxey is terrific. Yeah, the Nets. Come on, you don't want to play for them.
Yeah, Wemby kind of got lucky a little bit last year with the Spurs being the number 1 pick.
But he depending on his injury, which seems to be a high ankle sprain. We're all assuming he's going 1.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's going to be in the top 5 at least.
It has to be.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see how he plays it out.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the lottery, drawing.
Now, a lot of people think he's the number 1 pick, but what do you think about him? Do you think he's worthy of all the hype?
Yes, he's done what Duke needs. He's very talented. A little bit like Bill Bradley of the old days of Princeton. Got a lot of components of the game. I don't know what spot he is, but it'd be very hard to pass him up.
Yeah, definitely. What spot do you think he could play? I mean, I think he's probably a 3 or a 4, depending on how his shooting goes.
I mean, the way they play today, he could be 2. He's one of those kind of players that you draft him and then you'll find someplace for him.
Yeah.
To fit in.
Yeah, that's a good point. How would you feel about coaching Cooper Flagg? What would be your mindset if you're an NBA team?
He seems to be very cooperative. You don't hear anything disruptive. I think he likes the game, enjoys the game, and the coach there's a good young coach. They're disciplined not to a fault. He does everything well, but I don't know what one thing he does better than the other.
Yeah, he's definitely very well-rounded. He's definitely an athlete.
He's a complete, yes.
Yeah, but does maybe lack kind of the specific super skill that is above other people.
Well, if he gets with a decent team that he can blend in with, if you're going to put all the onus on him, that could be a little dicey.
Yeah, we were talking about Philadelphia just a second ago, and just how dysfunctional it is right now.
Ooh.
And they're bad, and you've been a part of great organizations as well. What is the key to having a consistent organization versus a team who's dysfunctional? What are the keys to keeping that?
Well, it is developing your roster, sliding it well, which Cleveland and Oklahoma are showing people. The Lakers are different. They're just interested in stars. They got to have stars. Mm-hmm. So they got 2.5, counting Reeves. And then be patient and persistent with them. But you got to put everybody in a position to win. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Washington's doing that. I think they're going to tank for a couple of years. Charlotte's messed up. Pelicans, I don't like either. I don't know about Philadelphia. I don't know where they sit. If those two guys don't come back, I mean, they're hurt. Embiid, they're doomed.
Yeah. Well, you talked about, if you look at OKC and you look at Cleveland, they've had their core players on the team for a decent time now. They've let them develop. They've given them time to build chemistry, which you don't see too often nowadays. You see teams try something for a year or maybe 2 years, and then you blow it up and try to see what the next thing is. So,
yeah, that happens. Is that and also the players can blow it up too.
Yeah.
Seeking out. I there's so many teams that are, I think in total of the 32 teams, 16 or 17 of them are below 500.
Really?
And that's a big number.
Yeah.
And then you have others that are in that. So there's only the tier one. There's not that many as there was in the old days. But 17, 18 teams under 500. That's a glut.
Yeah. I think what you see happening is teams are starting to pick a direction. They're either going to, if they think they're a contender, they're going to pursue that. But now you see if they realize they're not going to be a contender, they're just going to tank as much as they can. And even mid-season, I mean, if you look at Philadelphia, there's an investigation going on within them that's looking into how they're reporting their injuries. Because if you look at, like you said, Paul George is out for the season. Maxi's missed a lot of games. Obviously, Embiid has been out for the season for a while. Kind of just, they had a bad record and then unfortunate circumstances. And now, like, mid-season, they're just tanking and then.
Yeah, it's a bad word, but it happens. Dallas, it's in a position that they may forfeit games.
Yeah. They're also just, I think when they traded Luka, their organization must have been cursed by something because it's just gone downhill ever since he got traded.
Well, they have massive injuries.
Mm-hmm. Insane amount of injuries.
7, 8 major guys. But the way they've spent their money, what I read, that either they're limited or they can't do two-way contracts.
Yeah. I'm not exactly.
The GM is in a lot of trouble, I think.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I think I know what you're talking about. They've had so many injuries and they've had to bring up so many players. I think there might be a limit to how many guys they can keep bringing up.
They're like, I read they have $56,000 able to spend for the next month.
Really?
You know,
that's it.
Because they're capped out.
Yeah.
And whatever those two-way contracts they overreached.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that's happening
in
this country that you never thought would
You never know what's going to happen.
That's one of them.
Yeah. What do you think about a team like Dallas, a team like Phoenix, especially too? Going into next year, you have aging stars, Kevin Durant on Phoenix. For Dallas, you have AD and Kyrie, who's a free agent who could leave. How do you address your team? What direction do you go?
You're so far into them that you really don't want to get out, or you can't get out and get something for them. Is that a lot of pitfalls that they've had, but I think Dallas is also dealing with the perception problem. Their fans don't like him anymore. The GM can't do anything right, and he isn't doing anything right.
Yeah,
at this juncture.
Yeah,
the owner's multi-billionaire from Vegas, so I don't think he has strong identity with the city or the fans. It's a lot different from when Mark Cuban was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. Everyone looks at the Luka trade for Nico Harrison, the Mavericks GM, but kind of a sneaky trade that went under the radar is they traded Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin, And
Yes.
that Quentin Grimes just had a 46-point game. He's averaging like 20 points per game ever since he got traded to the Sixers. So I just think that's funny. It just adds just more salt into the wound if you're Dallas.
Well, many times a player hopes to get with the right system,
Yeah.
coach's philosophy. Does he play 5, 7, 8, 9 players? Now, the player has to do his homework. When he gets to that point, as Bird writes, and he can do a little bit in controlling his future, whereas in the past they had no control.
Yeah.
But as they say, is there a bank in Dallas where I could deposit my money? That's all they ask.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to recover.
Yeah. Could be a while. They might never recover. As good as they had it, they were just a finals team with a young superstar. I don't know how you get back to that level overnight.
I don't really understand the trade.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Davis is a good player. He was having a good year. But the owner, when he made his end of the year speech, it said, the Dallas Mavericks is a basketball club, not a vacation club, which he was taking a shot.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or what they can do.
I think it all comes down to money at the end of the day, and they might not have thought as good as they could have been with Luka. It might not have been the most profitable, considering that they would have had to pay him a supermax deal.
That's true.
So they probably weighed those options and thought maybe it's more worthwhile to just be.
In a way, unless you think that player is going to pole vault you in deep into the playoffs, then I can see get new blood in and get as much as you get. Now it's a good trade, player to player, but Davis, he's always hurt.
Yeah, that's the risk you take with AD, and he got hurt in the very first game. So it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the risk.
Well, the thing is that a lot of these teams are so strong in tradition, like the Warriors are now. Dallas used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, I don't know what they have. Orlando's been in and out. The Pelicans are. So there's nothing you can fall back on. You can always fall back to Cuban to do something. Jerry West, Red Howard, to do something. I don't think that's there anymore at Dallas, at least in public confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that I think makes it hard for these NBA teams, I'm not sure if you're super familiar with the second apron and the new CBA rules in the NBA, but it makes it extremely difficult for teams who have a high payroll to do anything with their team. Just for example, the second apron, if you reach a certain amount of money that you're paying to your players, then you're restricted to trades you can make, to how much money you can take back in a trade, how many players you can trade. Some of your draft picks down the future you're not able to trade. So just going back to Luka, if a team like Dallas wants to pay someone that much money, then they risk. It's really hard to build a team around Luka, because once you get to this second apron, then it's super hard to to make any changes to your team. That's kind of what the Celtics, that's what they're going to deal with now and in the future, is that their payroll is extremely high. But obviously they have a great team, but if it doesn't work out, they're going to be paying a lot of money with a lot of restrictions. So I don't think the second apron, I'm not sure how much you know about it in the CBA rules, but I think it was a bad move for the NBA.
The CBA rules are really deep and perplexing to some of us. But, they're paying to win now or really soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking down the line, a lot of these owners and coaches, they don't want to look down the line. You don't hear that from Boston. You don't hear that from the Lakers. The other team is really, it's got on out of this sunlight or moonlight. The Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always around, but I mean,
they're always, there's kind of this joke going around. They're in the play-in every year. They're always going to be there. They're never bad enough to get the number one pick and never good enough to do anything besides the play-in.
No, they and Minnesota has resurrected to some degree. But you get guys like Danny Ainge, I forget the kid's name at Oklahoma City. They love draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they make a couple hundred between the both of them.
Yeah.
And maybe they parlay it, but they run draft picks, which are always good to have, to give as part of. It doesn't cost you any money at the present.
Yeah.
You said, well, we're down now. So Utah is laboring as well as others. The other thing I'm hearing is that the Doug Christie kid at Sacramento, the ex-player, has the team playing pretty good.
Yeah, he's they're
Is
not
it Doug
doing.
Christie?
Yeah, I think he's the coach. They're not doing too bad. I think they traded for Zach LaVine. They had to trade De'Aaron Fox out, but I honestly think that Zach LaVine is just as good as De'Aaron Fox, maybe better.
Yeah, I like Fox.
Yeah, Fox is good, but
It's a good mix down there with the big guy.
yeah, I know it would have been nice to be able to see their connection, but I think he just got shut down too, De'Aaron Fox.
Did he?
Yeah, so they're tank mode.
I'd like to get shut down and get $100,000 a week.
Yeah,
whatever they get.
that's the move now.
When they shut down coaches, that means you're out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, just going back to draft picks, it comes down to, like you said, it comes down to the GM, because
Very important.
Sam Presti, the Thunder GM, or Danny Ainge, they're able to get a lot of value out of the players they trade, whereas a team like Chicago, they got peanuts for DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Like, they could have got a lot. I feel like if Danny Ainge or Sam Presti were the GM, they would have figured out a way to do something where they got more than what the Bulls
be more
got.
creative than
Yeah.
They, who has not been, you don't hear his name much anymore, but really put the roster together is Brad Stevens at Boston. I mean, that is a strong roster.
Yeah. Well, Celtics, it all comes down to their foundation with Tatum and Brown. Ainge really got them a head start by drafting them, and then ever since Stevens took over, he was able to complete that team around them. And yeah, I don't know how many more GMs have done a better job than him.
Well, he sucked in, was it Billy Knight at the Nets when he traded?
Oh yeah,
and he got like 9 draft
he got
picks.
got all the picks for Pierce and Garnett, who were at the tail end.
Yeah, was Allen in that trade too?
No, Ray Allen, he left. I think the year before that. That's when he went to the Heat as a free agent.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But
You got a good memory.
yeah, I mean,
they're a little bit disappointing this year.
the Nets.
Heat.
Oh, the Heat. Yeah, I mean,
They don't look good.
it's hard. I mean, with all that Jimmy Butler drama, and they traded him away. They got Andrew Wiggins back, but I mean, they were already didn't look that good with Jimmy Butler. So now you don't have him. Kind of hard to be a
Wasn't he
great team.
just looking for joy in his life?
That's what he said, and I think he found his joy with the contract that he signed. I think that's what he meant by joy. He was looking for that money.
Yes, well, they all do, but he's got a good cast to play with also now,
Mm-hmm.
in his mind.
Yeah. I think he was searching for Pat Riley or whoever in Miami to do more to the roster around him, because he had been carrying them to the finals with mediocre rosters, and I think he wanted more from his roster.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe if he took a pay cut.
That's the thing, right? A lot of these players want the best roster around them, but then they're making $60 million, so it's hard to do anything.
But Kobe Bryant said he would never reconstruct his contract.
Yeah.
No matter what. And he might be right, but it depends of your mindset. You got all the money you need. They got a decent pension, and it'd be nice to win an Oscar.
Yeah. I think a lot of times it's not about the dollar amount. It's about the respect that comes with that. If you're the highest paid player in the NBA, I think that goes a long way with just that respect versus, I don't know.
If that's what you need to get respect, yeah. But there's a lot that goes into that, not just the highest paid. Who is the highest paid player?
Right now, I believe it's Jason Tatum, I think. Well, yeah. I don't think currently, he's the highest paid this year, but once his contract extension kicks in, I think it's the highest contract.
You're right.
In the NBA. So.
You think he's worth it?
It's hard to say anybody's worth that much money. I think it's around $350 million, but I think he's worth it.
Monopoly money to us, right?
Yeah. So I think he's worth it. The Celtics won the championship last year, and they're on track to make it another deep playoff run. Maybe not win the championship. We'll see. But they're definitely on track.
Back. Is he back yet?
Yeah, he just got back. So fully healthy, it'll be hard to beat the Celtics.
Yes. But Cleveland can.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they split the season series. So I anticipate a Cavs-Celtics conference finals.
Yes. I would argue against that. And Oklahoma and Denver?
See, the West is a little tricky. You have LA, Denver, the Warriors. I think it comes down to those three. I think Memphis has a shot. Minnesota might have a shot. Houston.
I like that player, Memphis.
Ja Morant.
Oh,
I
think he's an Iverson times 10.
Mm-hmm.
He can play.
He has.
And I used to like Trae Young. Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still on Atlanta. But just like kind of the Bulls, they're always a play-in team.
And they don't have identity.
They have no identity. They're just average every year. So it's interesting. Well, I think we covered a lot of topics today, Coach. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up or mention?
You going to go to Canada for vacation?
Maybe. It depends on what my mom wants to do. There might be
You might not get back.
Yeah, so we'll have to think about that.
Yes, there you go. Well, no, it's good. Good. Let's just hope our 4 teams here do well.
Yeah, we'll definitely
talk about them again.
Yeah, we'll definitely hope they get far, and then we can talk about them more.
There you go. All right. Be good.